Hello and welcome. This is week 10 of Introduction to Meditation. I'm thrilled you've joined. So I normally start off with going over what we've done in the past, but by week 10, usually the only people who are left are people who've heard it all before. So I'm slightly going to assume that, and if this is your first time, I'm sorry. And what I'd like to do straight off the bat is just get started straight away with a meditation. And I'd like to introduce a slight variation on a meditation we've already been doing. I should pause for a second. There is a crazy thunderstorm going on where I am right now, which may or may not make it into the microphone. But I mention it for a couple of reasons. One is because it might make it into the microphone, and that's what's going on. And the other is just in case the power goes out. And if that happens, then sorry about that. And hopefully it won't last very long and it'll come back online relatively quickly. In the meantime, you can always just meditate. Anyway, so new meditation technique. Very similar to what we've done before, but we're going to be monitoring our thoughts in a slightly different way. So we're going to do the normal meditation where we are focusing on the breathing. And the idea of this breathing meditation is that we're using the breathing as an anchor for our attention. So as you breathe in, you're resting your attention on that breath such that your awareness becomes fully absorbed. There's this awareness that arises, we're fully absorbed just in this breath that's going on right now. And sometimes that can last a few seconds, maybe quite a few seconds. Sometimes it doesn't last very long at all before the mind wanders. And that's in large part what we're doing here is, yes, we are getting in touch with that state of mind where we're just in touch with the present moment, just able to rest in awareness of the breath. But we're also becoming aware of our mind and the way it thinks. So what I would like you to do is when you notice that your mind has wandered and your attention is somewhere else and you're no longer thinking about the breathing, I'd just like you to try this practice known as noting, which is where you just try and notice what's happening in your mind. And that can be as simple as thinking. And you might just say to yourself, thinking. And then the idea is once you notice that you're thinking, you just drop it. You just let it go. And then return your attention without judging anything. I mean, it's completely inevitable it's going to happen, so don't worry about when it does happen, if you can. But when you notice that you're thinking, maybe just notice thinking. And then just say to yourself, thinking, and then return your attention back to the breath. What you might notice is that you're worrying about a problem in your life. Goodness knows there's plenty of problems in the world. Something has grabbed your attention. You're thinking about maybe something you read, something you heard, something you saw. So there might be this worrying thing. In which case, if you notice that, just go worrying without judgment. We're not saying worrying's bad, thinking's not bad. None of these things are bad. You're just noticing what's happening with your mind in that moment. Place my mind goes relentlessly is to try and solve problems. So whether it's a talk that I'm going to be giving or just thinking about a piece I want to write about meditation or something about my house or the garden or some relationship issue or finance issue or something, whatever is some unresolved thing that I'd like to improve or working on and I haven't worked it out yet, my mind loves to try and solve the problem. So it's always like, oh, how do I do that? Oh, I could do it this way. Oh, I could think that. If you find yourself trying to solve things in your life, like think things through, work things out, just notice that and go, solving problems. And so we're just noticing with a bit more precision what's going on in the mind when it has our attention. And this is not with any intention or agenda. We're not trying to do anything with this. We're just noticing it. That's all. Just notice what the thought is or the type of thought is. And if you're not quite sure, and I don't want you to get into some big psychological, philosophical thing about oh, I'm thinking about this because that happened and my mother never loved me, or yeah, we we don't want to go there. We just want to notice what type of thought it is that you're having. Just very briefly. Just maybe one word or two words. So thinking, worrying, thinking about an email or something that you sort of unhappy about. You're like, oh, I'm trying to fix something, solve a problem. Wherever your mind has gone, just see if you can notice the type of thought. And there's no agenda here. It's just an exercise in getting a bit more precise about noticing the mind. And then return. As quickly as you can, returning back to the breath and just starting again. Okay, so let's give it a go. So sitting up straight such that you're comfortable but not too comfortable, and take a nice deep breath in and let it all the way out. And then let's do that again. Take a nice deep breath in, but this time hold it at the top for a moment. And then let it out very slowly. Just causing your mind to start to pay attention to the way you're breathing. And take another deep breath in and hold it at the top again. And let it all the way out. Nice and slowly though. Just noticing your body, releasing any tension you're holding in your shoulders, in your belly, in your face. And then allow your breathing to return to normal. And we're just resting our attention on this breath. You might notice that your mind has a lot of things that it wants to think about right now. From your day, from your life, from the world at large. And they're all important and worthy things to think about. But for the next 90 minutes, we're going to try and give ourselves a pause, a break, a relief, if you like, from all that thinking. So giving yourself permission to let all that stuff fall away. And just resting your attention in the awareness of this breath right now. Perhaps noticing a very specific sensation where the air enters either into your nostrils or on your lips. Maybe looking at that sensation very closely, allowing yourself to get fully absorbed in the awareness of that sensation. As I say, when you notice your mind take your attention elsewhere, see if you can make a little note as to what the thought is or what type of thought is. And if that's too difficult to work out, just say to yourself, thinking. Just notice that you're thinking. And then return your attention back to the next breath. We'll do this for about 10 minutes. So we're about halfway. Just like to encourage you to be very gentle with yourself. If your mind is racing, or you find you've been distracted for a long time, it's fine. It's part of the whole process. And part of the process and what we're learning is also not to judge ourselves for the fact that we have a mind and it wanders. Just see if you can sort of mentally note what type of thought you had, where you went, and then see if you can drop it gently. Not because it's wrong, just because it's not what we're doing right now. And return your attention back to the next breath. And simply start again, over and over and over. invite you to take a deep breath in and let it all the way out. Now to expand the area of your attention beyond your breathing. To become aware of all the sensations in your body. There are some obvious ones, probably like whatever you're sitting on. Or if you have a part of your body that's experiencing pain. But see if you can also open yourself up to notice all of the tiny little sensations all over your body. So much of your skin is sending you little signals of where it can feel clothing, or heat, or cold, pressure. Just allowing your attention to rest in awareness of all those sensations. And also just checking in with yourself and noticing if you can feel what your body is experiencing emotionally right now. See if you can do that without naming it. So not thinking about it or having a conversation about it. Just simply be aware of that, of the feeling, of whatever it is, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. Just see if you can simply notice the feeling. And take a deep breath in and let it out. When you're ready, open your eyes and connect yourself back into your room. So welcome to week 10. So in the first half of the series, I did spend quite a bit of time, or we spent quite a bit of time, looking at different meditation techniques and breaking them down in terms of the details of like what makes up these different practices. And then in the second half, I prefer to try and actually make this relevant in the real world, hence real world meditation. So it's about why is this meditation thing that we do relevant to real life? And so I'm trying to sort of come at it from another point of view. And we're still going to do the meditations, and we're still going to try and remember what some of these building blocks are of meditation. But I also want to just try and tie it into real life in terms of, relationships or happiness. And this week, just like to look at health, about how meditation can affect your health, how it does affect your health and how it can affect your health. And that means talking about stress. Now, anybody who's read my book or taken these classes before knows that I have a little bit of a strange relationship with meditation and stress, which is that whenever I tell people I teach meditation, they tend to sort of say, oh, must be great for stress. And I try not to roll my eyes and be too judgmental. But because I know that meditation is famous for being good for stress, and it is, but that's not why I got into it. And I also think it sells meditation short. As you know, I sort of think it's fantastic for lots of things, much more than just stress. However, it is also good for stress. And this is very important. Stress in some degrees, in extreme degrees, where it overwhelms us, where it dominates our mood, where we get consumed with worry or anxiety or frustration, it is incredibly detrimental to your health. both in the short term and in the long term. And we're very lucky with stress that we happen to know a great deal about it. There's been an enormous amount of science done, largely thanks to, I think, primarily thanks to John Kabat-Zinn. John Kabat-Zinn was a molecular biologist at the University of Massachusetts Medical School in Worcester, Massachusetts. And he was also very interested in Zen Buddhism. He was also a yoga teacher. And he would go on these multi-day silent retreats. And on one of these retreats, there was an instruction that, and I think it was sort of, I don't know, I might get the details wrong here, but I believe it was like sort of day 7 or something. Now, when you show up to a silent retreat, and I highly recommend them with some caveats, but I think they're fantastic as a next level of meditation practice. But when you start, usually, even if you've been meditating quite a lot, let's say as many as 2 hours a day, when you show up for this retreat, all of a sudden you're meditating maybe 12, 14, 16 hours. And about half of that is sitting on a cushion or in a chair. And pretty quickly, within a few hours, your body hurts a lot. We don't like sitting still. We're not built to sit still. Your back starts to kill you. Your hips start to kill you. Your knees are in agony. Your ankles are screaming. And you don't think there's any way you're possibly going to get through this. Now, I've only done the relatively nice retreats and where if you're in pain, just, move. It's not a big deal. I mean, if you can stay with it, that's great. But if you need to move, move. And I'm kind of a big proponent of if it really hurts, then move. But there is a teaching around pain which is interesting. And I wouldn't say I've mastered this at all. I have some insights into it, but I'm not good at this. But on one of these retreats that John Kabat-Zinn was on, the instruction was that for the next 2 hours, you weren't going to move a muscle. And I think this is by day 7, so your body is just falling to pieces by this point. And the idea was, whatever pain you're experiencing, you're just going to stay with it. And there was some instruction along with that, which was that the pain is the thing that grabs your attention. Like if your ankle is really killing you, you just feel your ankle. You think, this is going to break. I'm never going to walk again. What are they doing to me? This is insane. This is sadistic, what I'm being asked to do. There are all these thoughts. And there is this intense sensation in your ankle of throbbing and sharpness, and it's a very loud sensation. But the rest of your body is also experiencing lots of sensations. And the instruction here was to just notice each individual part of your body in detail. Now, some parts of the body are experiencing extreme pain, but most of them aren't. And so you just notice, okay, what is the tip of my big toe on my left foot feeling? And you'd move around your body, noticing the sensations. And in some places, it would be very intense. And you would look at the sensation and be aware of the sensation, get curious about the sensation, look at it non-judgmentally, and see if you can just be with it. And of course, the pain is excruciating. But then something happened to Kabat-Zinn whereby he was able to separate the sensation, that sharp, stabbing, throbbing, hot experience that he was having, which we would say that's pain, that's painful. But he was able to take it apart rather than just saying it's pain. It's like, okay, what is it? It's sharp, it's stabbing, it's pointed, it's all these other things. And there's a difference between the sensation and the mental interpretation of that. Now, mentally we interpret it as, this is pain. These are messages from my body. Pain is messages from your body saying, this isn't good. Something's wrong here. This is a very, very good thing that your body can do this, can send you these messages to stop you from getting into trouble, stop you from injuring yourself. But we tend to confuse, or we conflate, we put together the sensation itself and how we interpret it. And so we feel the sensation and we immediately go, that's painful, move. So we move. Anyway, I'm not recommending this necessarily. I'm just saying what happened to Kabat-Zinn. So he's in this situation and he suddenly is able to separate the sensation from his psychological interpretation of it as pain. And all of a sudden, for him, in that moment, the suffering disappeared. The sensation was still there, but he was able to simply see it as a sensation. Just as you might put your hand in warm water and you have a sensation of wetness and warmth. Or you put your hand in freezing cold water and you have a sensation still of wetness, but a totally different sensation of cold. And just as there are those sensations of wetness or cold, or when you taste something, you might taste sweet or bitter or salty. We have all of these different sensations and we have names for them, but they are, before we have names for them, they're just sensations. And for Kabat-Zinn, he was able to simply see these stabbing, sharp sensations as sensations of no difference in value to warmth or wetness or bitterness or saltiness or sweetness. I don't think I've ever got there. I mean, I'm able to sort of see these things, but I've never been able to take the suffering away completely. But anyway, so with the big caveat that for me, retreats is mostly just pain. But I recognize that there is this exercise where you can see pain for what it is, which is sensations, and then sensations that we interpret. Anyway, so he's had this moment and he's working in this hospital and there are all these people in the hospital, all these patients who are experiencing chronic pain, and modern medicine can't do anything for them. It's probably done already everything it can, and they are left in chronic pain and their only recourse is medications, all of which, if you're on them for long periods of time, have pretty deleterious side effects. And so he would go to these doctors in various departments and sort of say, okay, I think I may have found something to help people improve the quality of their life. Send me your lost cause patients, the people you can't do anything for. And I'll see if I can do something. And he didn't put them through the retreat experience of making them sit there without moving for 2 hours, but he tried to introduce some different techniques, one of which we'll do in the next exercise, known as the body scan, whereby you're really looking closely at the physical sensations in your body without necessarily naming them, just simply noticing the sensation for what it is. Noticing that your entire body all the time is having thousands of these little sensations. So he started this little program, and to his surprise, they sent him lots of people. So he had all these people to experiment on. And what he discovered was that his modified program was really helping people. It was really changing the quality of their life. It cannot take away the pain. It doesn't do that. But it does change people's relationship to their pain. And what he noticed was the levels of well-being, their level of stress, which was pretty high because they were in this chronic pain and had this sense that they were going to be in chronic pain for the rest of their lives, and very, enormously, overwhelmingly stressful. And what he noticed was that these exercise, breathing, focusing on the breathing, doing the body scan, doing some basic yoga, coupling that with other mindful exercises, that people's quality of life improved over an 8-week period very, very dramatically. And he called his program, many of you may have heard of it, the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Program, MBSR, which is now taught all around the world, largely in hospitals, and not just to people in chronic pain, but to a lot of people who are just experiencing great stress. And one of the beauties of his program is that they do exactly the same program. It's an 8-week program. It's the same all around the world, and it's often taught in hospitals, which means that you can do before and after experiments. You can test people before and after in a whole range of ways. So when people self-report, they say, oh yeah, I feel better. You're like, it's a little subjective. But they've been doing this for decades now, and they found all of these objective measures that people can't really fake, such as cortisol levels, such as well, anyway, there's a whole bunch of stuff in the brain that they can watch and see how people's brains work before and after the program. And there are a whole bunch of other measures as well. And what we know is that, guess what? Turns out meditation is good for stress. So that's a long way around of saying meditation is good for stress. But there are some aspects to this whole pain relationship thing that I think are helpful and relevant. And I'm not encouraging you to sort of think you're supposed to be able to heal yourself of experiencing pain. That's not what I'm trying to say. But there is this aspect where there is the sensation, and then there is our interpretation of the sensation. And I'm not saying that interpretation is wrong in any which possible way. Often, when you're experiencing pain, there is a reason your body is sending you that message, and you need to move. You need to change your situation in order to ease whatever pressure it is on that part of the body. But this aspect of how our mind interprets reality and separating reality from the interpretation is incredibly helpful when it comes to stress. Now, right now, we are at the beginning of June 2020. The world is a mess. I am sure many of you are feeling a great deal of stress. There are enormous numbers of reasons to feel so. Completely independent of our own personal situations, many of which are often also very stressful. We still have a pandemic killing way too many people around the world. It's not under control. We have massive economic uncertainty. We have civil unrest. We have protesting. We have violent protesting as well. We have political uncertainty. We have a great deal of dissatisfaction with what's going on. Whatever side of this equation you might be on, there is an enormous amount of dissatisfaction with how things are right now. And there's a lot of concern about what the future looks like. So it just happens that tonight happens to be health night, and we're going to talk about stress. And I hope I don't fumble this, because it's a big moment in our history and in our lives. There's a great deal of stress. And what I want to say about it is that situations are situations. So the situation right now, I would characterize as pretty bad, if not very bad. I'm sure many of you feel the same way. So there is the situation, whatever that situation is. Right now, it's global situation, national situation, local situation. You might have a personal situation which is intensely stressful. There is the situation itself. And then there is how we respond to the situation. How are we reacting to the situation in our minds? Now, this isn't to say that I think, you're supposed to, all situations, you're supposed to just learn how to not be stressed by them. That's not, I really don't want that to be the message at all. Life is stressful. You're not going to be able to get away from that just because you meditate. The world is unfair. Life is unfair. There are many things that are awful that we should do what we can to try and change. But there is, what is the most effective way of responding to any given situation? What is the best way of responding to the situation? Whether it's the situation today or inevitably in life, there are going to be other times when the situation is incredibly difficult and incredibly stressful. And it's appropriate and normal to feel what you feel about injustice or pain or suffering or grief or loss or any of the things that happen in life that cause us anguish. It's entirely appropriate to feel those things. What is unhelpful is to get overwhelmed by them, to dwell on them, to become all consumed with a way of looking at the situation that leaves us helpless, anxious, depressed, stressed. It's fine to get frustrated, but it isn't helpful to remain frustrated and remain anxious indefinitely. Our bodies aren't designed for it. Our bodies are designed to experience this stress response for brief, short periods of time when we're physically threatened. The fight or flight mechanism of stress is to get us ready to run or to fight for our lives. And we're built for it. We're built to withstand that stress response, but for short periods of time. And what's changed in the modern world, and part of being human, is that we have this ability to think and to see and to formulate the future and judge the present and think about the past. And all of that stuff makes us incredibly stressed. So we end up with this psychological reaction to events, to threats to ourselves, to our sense of what the world should be, to our egos, to our social standing, to what we want is at risk. What we hope for is at risk for ourselves, for our family, for our friends. And that causes us stress. And if it stays with us for long periods of time, we're not built for it. It literally kills us in a whole plethora of ways. And now they know down to the cellular level of why and how your telomeres get degraded. And that causes the cells to just die. And once they stop replicating, especially the ones in your immune system, it's not good. You age many, many times before you're supposed to. Stress is terrible. So what can you do when you are stressed? Well, one thing is, obviously, not surprisingly, meditation helps. These breathing exercises where you focus, what some people call mindfulness meditation or awareness meditation, where we take a break, we pause, we breathe, we notice our breathing. It's a way of interrupting the thought patterns that can take us down a hole and seeing the world in a particular way, so that when something goes wrong, we can see, okay, this is terrible. It's always been terrible, and it always will be terrible. And that kind of thinking, that spiral thinking, can get worse and worse and worse until we end up feeling helpless. And that's not a very helpful place to be. So it's a way of interrupting that. Some of you know, and some of you may have noticed, I have an English accent. I grew up in England. And this is sort of what I call my cup of tea theory. Is that the British, we have our quirks like any culture. And one of the quirks is that we believe you can solve anything with a cup of tea. It doesn't matter what's going on. Your dog's died. You got a flat tire. Your best friend has just run off with your spouse. Whatever it is, don't worry, I'll put the kettle on. And I used to make fun of this for years. I was just like, what is it with this whole put the kettle on thing? What is it with this tea thing? And I love a cup of tea, just like the average British person. But I didn't get, why do we think it solves all problems? And the reason is simply that whatever state you're in, whatever situation you're in, your mind can be spinning and spinning and spinning. And usually when it spins, it doesn't take you to a good place. It takes you to a worse place. And so what we do when we put the kettle on is we interrupt the thinking of the situation. You put the kettle on. You get the teapot ready. You put the tea in the teapot. If you're really anal about it, you're going to warm the teapot before you put the tea in it. But anyway, don't want to get too much into tea. But anyway, there's this whole ritual and routine around the tea. Then you pour the water in, then you have to wait. You have to wait for it. It sits there. And then when it's ready, you pour it, and then you add milk, if you add milk. Do not add milk. Anyway, whatever. Again, I'm getting off on tea. So then you have to wait for it because it's too hot to drink. And so then eventually you can drink it, and you drink the tea. And after you've drunk the tea, the situation in your life is exactly the same as the situation before you sat down to make tea. It's exactly the same. But you've interrupted your thinking for 10 minutes while you've been focused on tea. And in that 10 minutes, by settling things down, at the end of the cup of tea, you feel way better about the situation. The situation's still a situation, and if it's a bad situation, it's still a bad situation. But you've had 5-10 minutes just to calm yourself down and think more clearly more rationally. It's an interruption. And in some ways, meditation can just be an interruption, especially when we're enormously overwhelmed, frustrated, upset, sad, angry, whatever it is. Meditation is not going to change the situation you're in, but it interrupts the thought pattern that's probably not helpful for you in that moment. The more you analyze the situation, the more you take yourself down the rabbit hole of helplessness, which is enormously debilitating and stressful. So we interrupt it. So there's the cup of tea aspect of this, but there is another aspect to meditation as well, which is this whole awareness thing of noticing where your mind goes. When you're faced with a really difficult situation, your mind might go to helplessness and disaster planning and catastrophic thinking and how awful everything is. And it's not just the situation that's bad. It's like everything is bad. Everything is terrible. Everything always has been terrible. Everything always will be terrible. And the truth is that some things in the world are terrible. Some things in the world are beautiful and amazing and remarkable. And if we only get obsessed and overwhelmed and consumed by the darkness, by the evil, by the injustices in the world, about what's wrong with the world, if we focus exclusively on that, we go down the rabbit hole of stress, anxiety, frustration, none of which is helpful. Meditation can allow us to see what's going on in our mind, what's going on moment to moment. Are we being overwhelmed? Are we going down that rabbit hole of everything is wrong, everything is going to go wrong, the whole life, the rest of life, the whole world is in a bad place? Instead of being able to see some balance. And if we go down that hole of just hopelessness and what's wrong with the world, it leads us into this place of like anger and blame and fury and rage, all of which are completely understandable in the face of injustice and intolerance, but they're not necessarily helpful places to go. You might say, well, we need to do something about these things. And I don't disagree at all. I think we need to do all sorts of things. We need to do what we can. But our best way of doing something effective is not to come from a place of hate, a place of anger, or a place of intolerance, or a place of hopelessness. If we think about many of the greatest people who have changed history, whether it's Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, none of these people came from a place of hate or anger. They came from a place of seeing that there was something wrong in the world, and that the best way to do something about that was with calm, with rationality, and with love, and with action too, but action that didn't come from a place of helplessness or hopelessness or anger, because it's not the most effective way. So how does meditation help? Well, it's a question of seeing where your mind is focused. Are we focused on absolutely 100% that everything's wrong? Or are we focused, at least able to see what's wrong, and then able to also be able to change the way we look at it to see what's possible? The fact that so much of the greatest changes that have ever happened in history have happened as a result of the darkest moments in our history. That isn't to say the dark moments are good. They're not. But there is an aspect to this that can create change, that can make things better. And if we focus on what's possible, rather than just getting consumed by what's wrong, once we see that we have a purpose, that we can do something, maybe we can't fix everything, but we can do what we can do. If we're focused on what we can do instead of what we can't do, the stress alleviates. You take a deep breath. You have your cup of tea. And then you move forward. because stress is not a helpful place to end up. It's not healthy. It's incredibly unhealthy. Linked to cardiovascular disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, cancer, all sorts of things. So it's fine to be upset. It's good to be upset. It's good to feel anger about situations. It's not good to get consumed and to get trapped in stress, helplessness, hopelessness. Instead of seeing, at least with balance, where your mind is, and then being able to place it somewhere else. Okay, that's a lot of talking. Let's do some meditation. So, invite you, sitting up straight. Take a deep breath in. And let it all the way out. Just a side note. So this breathing thing. Oh, and I think meditation is good for stress, but some of it is just the breathing. Slowing down your breathing, deepening your breathing. If you're really anxious and frustrated and upset, making sure you breathe into your belly. So maybe putting your hand on your belly and making sure that when you breathe in deep, slow breaths into your belly. And just that creates what's known as a parasympathetic response in the body. Easing tension, easing stress, allowing ourselves to see more clearly. Meditation is good too, but okay, so taking nice, slow, deep breaths. Now take one extra big one, and this time hold it at the top. And let it out as slowly as you can. And one more deep breath in. This time letting it out very slowly, just noticing where you're holding tension in your body. Just seeing as you breathe out if you can release that tension. Then allow your breathing to return to normal. And what I'd like you to do now is to place your attention in your body, really paying attention to the sensations in your body. And we're going to scan the body, noticing all the different spots in your body, and just noticing with curiosity what you feel in each of these spots. And not to name it, just to see if you can rest your attention on the sensation. Just being absorbed by the sensation itself. Starting with your left foot. Seeing if you can feel your big toe on your left foot. Noticing any sensations, subtle, pronounced. See how many of your other toes you can feel, any sensations you're experiencing. Just breathing deeply. Allowing yourself to be fully absorbed by the sensations in your left foot. Noticing the ball of the foot. The arch. Your heel. your ankle. Perhaps already you can notice that even in this tiny area just in your left foot, huge numbers of tiny little sensations. Each spot on your foot has a specific sensation. Some are very pronounced, some are very light. Then moving up your left leg, noticing your shin and your calf. Getting specific in your curiosity and noticing each individual sensation. Moving up, noticing your left knee. Moving up the top of the leg. Got a big muscle on the front of your left leg. Big muscle on the back. All the way up and down your leg. Hundreds of little sensations. Maybe one or two very obvious, loud sensations. Just resting your attention on each of these specific sensations and then noticing them together as well. And moving to your right leg and noticing your right foot. Noticing the sensation perhaps in your right toes. The ball of the foot. Heel of your foot. Your ankle. Moving up the right foot. Moving up the right leg rather, from the ankle towards the knee. Just moving up the leg very slowly. Seeing if you can notice sensations on each spot as you move up your leg. Experiencing your knee. As you look at each sensation, look at it closely without talking to yourself about it, but just noticing what that feeling is actually made up of. Does it have a texture? Is it about pressure? Is it sharp? Is it soft? And moving up your leg all the way to your hip. Now I'm noticing both legs at the same time. Just allowing your attention to rest. Just being absorbed by sensations, huge numbers of sensations in your two legs. Noticing the big obvious ones, but also the subtle ones. Then moving up your body, noticing your belly. Hopefully moving in and out, slowly and deeply with your breathing. Perhaps noticing how you can feel your clothing against your skin as you breathe. Noticing your chest, your shoulders, moving very slowly down your left arm, from your shoulder towards your elbow. Noticing any sensations. From your elbow to your wrist. Noticing your left hand. Again, getting very curious and looking very closely. Not just that there is a sensation, but really looking at specifically what that sensation is made up of. Is there a throbbing, a texture? Moving your attention to your right arm, starting at the shoulder, moving very slowly down towards the elbow. From the elbow down towards your right wrist. Noticing the sensations in your right hand. And getting very specific, noticing what you feel in your little finger. Very specifically, where you can feel texture, temperature. Your fourth finger, your middle finger, index finger, and your thumb. And noticing your neck. Front of your neck. The left side of your neck. The back of your neck. The right side of your neck. Noticing your face. Your chin. Your lips. Your cheeks. Your nose. Your eyes. And seeing if you can rest your attention from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. Just scanning down your body. Noticing so many sensations and so many different types of sensations. Resting your attention in this awareness of your physical body. And take a deep breath in and let it out. When you're ready, open your eyes and connect yourself back into your room. So I talked too long about stress, but there are so many aspects to it. The only other thing I'd like to add is just that stress is not bad to feel. It's bad to stick with it and to wallow in it or get consumed by it, but it's not bad to feel it. But I think it's helpful perhaps to recognize that stress is always created in our mind. It doesn't mean you're wrong to feel it or it's your fault or anything like that, but it's just recognize that it's created in your mind. It's your interpretation of a situation as being bad, that it is a threat in some way to something. It is a threat to goodness, perhaps. But nevertheless, stress is caused as a result of your reaction to the situation. And that's fine. Often your reaction to the situation is appropriate. But recognizing that you are the one that created that stress response because it's in your mind, it's your interpretation of the threat. Once you see that, then you have taken the ability to respond to that reaction in a more helpful, intelligent way that makes you more effective in dealing with whatever the situation is. So just recognizing that the stress response is not the situation in and of itself. I saw some geese swimming on my lake today, on the lake outside my house, and they were very unaffected by what's going on in the world today. And I don't want to make that sound flippant. It's just that the world is doing what it's doing. It's going through its craziness. But if you didn't know about it, You wouldn't be stressed about it. It's only because you see it and then you respond to it that it causes the stress. Once you see that, then you can see, okay, I am stressed. Where is my mind? How am I responding? And where can I put my mind, not to not feel what's going on, but where can I put my mind to make myself most effective in dealing with this situation? That's all. Because where our mind is, moment to moment, that's in our control if we choose to put it in our control. Isn't to say you ignore it, isn't to say you're accepting the situation, none of that. You're just choosing how you react to the situation. That's all. Not easy, but with meditation training, it's doable. Another place that I think where our mind goes that affects our health dramatically is it's in a very specific relationship. And this occurred to me when I was visiting some friends they're a couple, they've been married many years. And when I was visiting them, I noticed they really don't like each other very much. They are engaged in this antagonistic war against each other, relentlessly complaining. He drives her crazy, she drives him crazy. They're both complaining relentlessly about each other. It's awful. It's horrible. It's horrible to be around. You think, oh, they should leave each other, but at this point, they're probably not going to. They're entrenched in their position that the other person is wrong and the other person should change and the other person is wrong for being the way they are and they're going to be miserable until this person changes, which they're not going to change. And they are extremely focused on all of the things that is wrong with this other person. Yeah, needless to say, it's not healthy relationship and it's not fun to watch. It's not fun to be around. But it did occur to me that I think we all have a relationship like that in our lives. That I think is very costly to our physical health. And that relationship is with our bodies. We have a relationship with our body. I have my body. You have your body. Yeah, that's one part of it. But there's the way we look at our bodies. And almost everybody I know, in fact, I think everybody I know, looks at their bodies and is dissatisfied with something. It doesn't work the way it's supposed to. It causes you pain. It doesn't look the way you want it to. It doesn't react the way you want it to. Your eyesight isn't as good as it used to be. Your hearing isn't what you want it to be. You have curves in the wrong places and you don't have curves where you want curves. Some of us lose our hair, our eyesight. Parts of us hurt. They break down. They don't work as well. And there are mostly resentments. It's mostly a complaint. We don't like the way our bodies are. And it's like my friends. It's just this relentless focus on what's wrong with the body. And I'm not saying I'm sure there are things that you'd like that would be better. But what I'm trying to highlight is that actually what's happening here in this relationship with your body is it's entirely based on how you look at it. Your body is worth billions of dollars. In fact, that's a lie. I'm just trying to put a number to it. It's not buyable. You can't buy a body. You can't go out there and buy a body. It's insane. Insanely complicated. Way too complicated for us to be able to make one these days. So you can't go buy one. You've got one. It is millions of years in the making. It's extraordinary in thousands and thousands of ways, millions of ways. Your body is absolutely extraordinary. But there's a couple of things going on. One is you got it for free. And anything we get for free, we don't really value. You go, oh, I got it for free. They got a better one than I got. Why didn't I get theirs? So we're complaining about this incredible thing we've been given because it's not perfect. We're focused on what's wrong with it instead of what's right with it. The other thing is, it's human nature. Our minds, they're wired to focus on what's wrong with things instead of focus on what's right with things. Now, once you know that, once you recognize that this glitch in our wiring makes us focused on what's wrong instead of what's right, you then, the moment you know that and you notice that, you have the ability to do something about it. And this is one of the things that meditation gives us, is this ability moment to moment to see, where is my mind? What is it focused on, and how is it focused? How is it focused on my body? Well, mostly it's probably complaining, unless you're like Tom Brady or Gisele Bündchen. And I bet they complain about their bodies probably too. I don't know if they do or they don't. They shouldn't. But anyway, but the rest of us, we're always complaining. It doesn't work. It doesn't look the way we want it to. It's faulty. It's whatever. Causes us pain. We're focused on what's wrong with it instead of what's right with it. And we end up, like my friends, with this like antagonistic relationship of going, it shouldn't look the way it does. I'm resentful of it. I'm angry with it. I'm disappointed with it. I wish it was different than it is. And the problem with that kind of a relationship is yeah, you're not going to be very nice to it if you just resent it all the time. All that my friends would have to do would be to focus a little bit on what's right with the other person, and they would be filled with appreciation instead of focusing on what's wrong with the other person, and they're just filled with resentment. So, what is your relationship with your body? Are you focused on what's wrong with your body, or are you focused on the fact that it's incredible? You can see things, you can move, you can hear things. You can move around, you can stand up, you can probably walk. I mean, you may not be able to do some of those things, but whatever you can do with your body, that's incredible. And I know it's human nature, we're always dissatisfied, we want more. But if you can focus on what's incredible about your body instead of what's wrong with your body, your relationship will change to one of gratitude. And when you are grateful for your body, that relationship changes. You're far more likely to start to treat it like the multi-billion-dollar machine it is. If you had some multi-billion-dollar machine, you would take really good care of it. You would make sure you changed the oil, and you would make sure it had fresh tires, and you would clean it, and you would wash it, and all those other things. And I'm sure you wash your body and things like that. But are you putting everything you can into the appreciation of how incredible it is? And what I'd suggest is that through meditation, you can notice what is your relationship to your body, and you can change it. And that doesn't mean you suddenly have to start drinking 8 glasses of water a day and exercising, whatever. But if you change your relationship, if you change the way you look at it to appreciate it instead of resent it, my bet is that you would treat it better. And that anything you resent, you're not going to treat that well. So, I think a little bit of love, a little bit of kindness, a little bit of generosity, a little bit of focusing on what's right and amazing about your body, about the fact that you can still breathe. You still have this device to get oxygen into your body and expel the carbon dioxide from your body. While you're still breathing, something is still right with your body. So focus on that. Don't focus on what's wrong and the 10 pounds or the 20 pounds or the 30 pounds or whatever. Don't focus on that. By all means, try and do something about it, but do something from a place of kindness and gratitude and appreciation rather than resentment. I think it changes everything. I think this is huge. I think that single thing, recognizing how you look at it and changing how you look at it, that'll change everything. Okay, so let's finish with sending some love to our bodies, as well as to all the people in the world, all beings in the world. So I invite you to sit up straight, such that you're alert, comfortable, but alert. And we'll do the loving kindness exercise. So I'll guide you through it, 5 steps to the process. We'll probably finish about 5 minutes late, and I hope that's all right. So it'll be about 15 minutes in total. So sitting upright such that you're comfortable but alert, and take a nice deep breath in. And let it all the way out. Take another nice deep slow breath in. Hold it at the top for a moment. And then let it out very slowly. Just noticing any tension you're holding in your body. Just easing the tension. Just resting your attention at first just on your breathing. Let everything else fall away. Whether you're thinking about your life, the world, some problem you need to solve, an email, a conversation, something I said. Wherever your mind is, just see if you can let it go just for the next 15 minutes or so. If it's really important, it'll come back to you. And we're just going to take this 15 minutes to practice some kindness to ourselves and to the world. So I'd like you to picture the person that it's easiest for you to send love to. So bringing this person to mind and opening your heart. Recognizing that we tend to hold back as if we have a limited amount to give. But in this exercise, just enjoy opening your heart completely. Sending this person all your love. Just repeating whatever phrases you like. But for example, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with joy. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with joy. So picturing this person, opening your heart, just repeating your phrases over and over. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with joy. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with joy. And then seeing if you can take that same level of kindness, generosity, and love, and sending it to yourself. Opening your heart towards yourself. We often have resistance because we focus on what's wrong with us. But what is also true is we are, in addition to being flawed, we are also human and perfect with our flaws, and just as worthy of love as anybody. and opening yourself up as much as you can to that. And at the very least, just saying your phrases to yourself. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with joy. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with joy. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with joy. The third part of the exercise, bringing to mind what's known as the neutral person. Somebody that's in your life, but you don't know them very well. Might be somebody at the supermarket, or a neighbor, person who drops off packages with UPS. Just practice sending this person you don't know as much love as you can. Recognizing that they struggle just like you do. They suffer frustration, sadness, anger, just like you. Just opening your heart as much as you can, and at the very least, just repeating your phrases with them in mind. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with joy. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with joy. I'm going to jump to the last part of the exercise, where we just try and open our heart way bigger than we probably even think is possible. But we have far more capacity for kindness, generosity, and love than we normally realize, and here we just get to practice it a little bit, get a taste for what we're capable of. Recognizing that all beings struggle, all beings suffer, just like we do. I tend to picture myself out in space looking at the blue marble that is planet Earth, imagining the billions of people, trillions of animals, all this possibility, all this struggle, opening my heart as much as I can, touching into that infinite capacity that we all have, wishing all beings well, At the very least, just repeating the phrases. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings experience joy in their lives. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings experience joy in their lives. Just repeating those phrases, or whichever phrases you choose. Opening your heart as wide as you can. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings experience joy in their lives. And take a deep breath in and let it out. And just invite you to transition gently out of this meditation. Not dashing back to think about your life or the world or your problems or your emails, your to-dos. Just noticing this meditative awareness. Perhaps this warmth in your heart right now. And transition gently to try and bring some of this into the rest of your evening, and maybe even into the rest of your week. Take a deep breath in. And let it all the way out. When you're ready, open your eyes and connect yourself back into your room. So that's the end of week 10. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much to those people who've sent money in for a little campaign to try and get the word out about this. And to those of you who've just shared on Facebook or wherever and sent me advice on marketing and Instagram and Facebook things and stuff. So thank you all very much. And thank you for joining on this journey. It's a big topic tonight. I hope not too heavy. Please do get in touch. The website, email, whatever. Any questions you've got, any thoughts you've got, any considerations. Love to hear from you. In the meantime, be well. Try not to get too stressed. And when you do, take a breath. Have a cup of tea. Either literally or meditate for a bit. Have the metaphorical cup of tea. May you and our world find happiness. May you and our world find healthiness. May you and our world experience some joy. Thank you very much, everybody.